The starship Eternal Dawn moved through the darkness like a silver needle threading through black fabric. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge, watching the strange structure grow larger on the view screen. It hung in space like a massive crystal flower, each petal the size of a moon. The structure was dead, its lights long extinguished, but something about it made Daeho's skin prickle with unease. "How old is it?" he asked, not taking his eyes from the screen. Giwon Park looked up from her console, pushing dark hair behind her ear. She was humanity's best linguist, fluent in 12 Earth languages and 3 alien ones. "The radiation dating suggests 50 million years, Captain. Give or take a few thousand centuries." Daeho whistled low. 50 million years ago, humanity's ancestors were still living in trees. This structure was ancient when dinosaurs walked the Earth. "Any signs of danger?" he asked Tae-Min Lee. The xenobiologist shook his head. His screen showed nothing but cold metal and crystal. "It's completely inert. Whatever power source it had is long gone." "But Captain, the architecture doesn't match any known species. This is something new. Or rather, something very, very old." Hannah Choi stood near the weapons console, her military training keeping her alert even in the presence of a dead relic. She had short hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Recommend caution, sir. Just because it's dead doesn't mean it's safe." Daeho nodded. "Agreed, but we didn't come all this way to just look. Prep the shuttle." "Gi-won Ta-min, you're with me." "Hannah, you too." Full environment suits and weapon protocols. 20 minutes later, their shuttle attached itself to one of the structure's petals, like a small insect landing on a frozen flower. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor that seemed to go on forever. Lights flickered on as they entered, responding to their presence after millions of years of darkness. "That's not ominous at all," Hannah muttered, her hand resting on her sidearm. The corridor walls were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they walked. G1 recorded everything, her eyes wide with excitement. "This is incredible. The symbols are adaptive. They're changing based on our neural patterns. It's trying to communicate with us." We walked for what felt like hours, though Daeho's suit timer said it had only been 20 minutes. The corridor opened into a chamber so vast that their helmet lights couldn't find the far wall. In the center stood thousands of crystalline pillars, each one glowing with a soft blue light. "What are they?" Daeho asked. Tae-Min approached the nearest pillar carefully, scanning it with his equipment. "Data storage. Massive data storage. Captain, if I'm reading this correctly, each of these pillars contains more information than every library on Earth combined." Gi-won was already at another pillar, her hands moving over its surface. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, responding to her touch. Suddenly, a hologram appeared above the pillar, showing a star map, unlike anything they had ever seen. "Look at this," she breathed. "These markers, they represent seeded worlds. Thousands of them, spread across the entire galaxy." "Seeded?" Hannah asked, moving closer. "You mean terraformed?" "No," Taemin said, his voice shaking slightly. "Not terraformed, life-seeded. Look at the data. This facility belonged to a species that traveled the galaxy planting life on barren worlds. They engineered it, customized it, for each planet's environment, and then watched it grow." Daeho felt his heart begin to race. Every world. Gi-won was pulling up more data, her fingers flying over the controls. More holograms appeared, showing strange creatures, evolutionary charts, genetic sequences. According to this, they seeded life on 3,047 worlds over the course of 20 million years. They called themselves the Architects. "Do we know any of these worlds?" Daeho asked. Tae-Min pulled up a comparison chart matching the Architect's star positions with current galactic maps. His face went pale. "Captain, these coordinates match known inhabited systems. The Krill homeworld, the Vespon colonies, the Lumina origin point. All of them. Every intelligent species we've ever met, they all came from Architect's seeding projects." The implications hit Daeho like a physical blow. Every alien species humanity had encountered, every strange creature they had cataloged, all of it was created by these architects millions of years ago. They were all children of the same gardeners. Search for Earth, he said quietly. Sol system. See if we're in their database. Juwan's hands trembled as she entered the search parameters. The hologram flickered, then displayed a new image. It showed a blue-green planet that was unmistakably Earth. But the land masses were slightly different. The coastlines altered by millions of years of continental drift. Project 3040 G1 read aloud. Target world. High oxygen content. Abundant water. Stable star. Life seeding initiated 52 million years ago. Initial results promising. That's it? Hannah asked. That's all it says about us. No, Jiwon said, her voice dropping to a whisper. There's more, much more, and it's all marked in red. She pulled up the full file. The hologram exploded with text, images, and what could only be described as warning symbols. Daeho didn't need to read the alien language to understand the tone. This was an alert, a danger notice, quarantine warning all rolled into one. Gi-won began translating, her voice shaking. Project 3040 status terminated. Reason, uncontrolled evolutionary deviation. The seeded species developed traits incompatible with galactic stability. Traits include extreme adaptive violence, recursive pack bonding behavior, unprecedented tool use, creativity, and persistent pursuit patterns. Recommendation: complete sterilization. Status: recommendation overruled by Project Council. Compromise solution: permanent quarantine. Gravitic barrier installed. Coordinates erased from all navigation databases. Warning level: extinction threat. The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of their suit systems. Daeho stared at the words floating in the air before him. Extinction threat. The architects, the beings who had seeded life across the galaxy, had looked at early humanity and been so terrified that they had quarantined the entire planet. They were afraid of us, Taemin whispered. The most advanced civilization in galactic history, and they were afraid of primitive humans? What did we do? Hannah asked. What could we have possibly done to scare them that badly? Daeho looked at the hologram, at the red warnings that pulsed like a heartbeat. I don't know, but I think we need to find out. Because if other species learn about this, if they discover that humanity was judged too dangerous to exist, that we were supposed to be sterilized. He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all understood. Humanity had entered the galactic community as equals, as just another spacefaring species. But this discovery changed everything. They weren't another child of the architects. They were the abandoned experiment, the project gone wrong. The one creation that had scared their creator so badly that they had run away and hidden all evidence of Earth's existence. Copy everything, Daeho ordered. Every file, every record, every piece of data in this facility. Earth's command needs to see this. All of it. As they worked to download the massive archives, Daeho couldn't shake one thought from his mind. Somewhere out there, millions of years ago, the architects had looked at humanity and decided they were too dangerous to live. And then they had failed to follow through on that decision. Humanity existed because the architects had been too frightened to finish what they started. The question was, what would the rest of the galaxy do when they found out? The Galactic Council chamber orbited a neutron star. Its walls made of transparent aluminum that offered a view of the cosmic lighthouse spinning below. 47 species had representatives here, each sitting in their specially designed seats, breathing their preferred atmospheres through personal environmental fields. The chamber had been built for diplomacy, for calm discussion and peaceful resolution. Today it felt like a courthouse, and humanity was on trial. Ambassador Sung Woo-Roo stood in the center of the chamber, aware that hundreds of eyes, sensors, and other sensory organs were focused on him. He was a career diplomat, trained to remain calm under pressure, but nothing had prepared him for this. The news from the eternal dawn had spread across known space in less than a week. Every species in the galaxy now knew the truth about their origins, and every species now knew about Earth's special status as the abandoned project. Ambassador Roo, the speaker system, translated the clicking sounds of Hivemaster Venthrox. The insectoid being was 3 meters tall, covered in gleaming black chitin, the compound eyes that reflected Seung-Woo's image 1,000 times. Your species has brought disturbing information to light. Information that concerns all civilized beings. The information was not created by us, Seung-Woo replied carefully. We merely discovered what the architects left behind. Crystalline being that seemed to be made of living light pulsed with colors that the translator interpreted as speech. The Lumina Concord acknowledges this truth. However, the content of the discovery is what troubles us. The architects were our creators. They were methodical, careful, and wise. They seeded life across the galaxy with purpose and care. Every species in this chamber has records of architect guidance, of their careful supervision until we were deemed ready for independence. Seung-Woo felt a cold weight in his stomach, and Earth had no such guidance. Worse than that, Venthrax clicked. Earth was deemed a failure, a dangerous failure. The architects recommended complete sterilization of your world. Do you understand what this means? The most advanced civilization in galactic history looked at early humanity and decided you were too dangerous to exist. That was 50 million years ago, Seung-Woo protested. We were barely evolved primates. We've come so far since then. We've built civilizations, developed art and philosophy, reached for the stars. Surely that counts for something. Slug-like being that needed a mobility platform to move spoke through its translator. The architects did not make hasty decisions. If they marked Earth as dangerous, they had reason. We have all reviewed the files your ship discovered. The traits they documented in early humans, extreme adaptability, creative violence, persistent hunting patterns, pack bonding with non-species entities. These traits do not disappear with civilization. They become more refined, more dangerous. Seung-Woo looked around the chamber, searching for a friendly face. He found none. Every representative wore expressions ranging from concern to outright hostility. What exactly are you proposing? Venthrax leaned forward, his mandibles clicking in what might have been the insectoid equivalent of a sigh. The Council has discussed this matter extensively over the past week. We have reached a decision. Humanity must submit to corrective genetic engineering. We have the technology the architects left behind. We can adjust your species, remove the dangerous traits, make you compatible with galactic civilization. You want to change what we are? Seung-Woo's voice rose despite his training. You want to rewrite human DNA because of something the architects wrote millions of years ago? The Lumina Concord pulsed with sharp red light. We want to prevent a catastrophe. Every species here was guided, shaped, made safe. You were not. You are an unfinished project, Ambassador Rue, an experiment that went wrong. We are offering to fix that mistake. And if we refuse, the chamber fell silent. Venthrax's compound eyes seemed to darken. Then, we must consider you a threat to galactic stability. The architects quarantined your world for a reason. Perhaps they were wise to do so. We will reinstate that quarantine. Earth will be isolated, cut off from all galactic trade, communication, and travel. You will remain in your system until such time as you agree to corrective measures. Seung-Woo felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax. You would imprison 4 billion humans because of what we might do. Because of fears based on 50-million-year-old data? We would protect 47 civilizations, a reptilian delegate hissed. We would preserve the peace that has existed for 10,000 years. Your species has been part of the galactic community for only 50 years. In that time, you have been involved in 3 military conflicts, 17 trade disputes, and countless cultural misunderstandings. You are aggressive, unpredictable, and yes, dangerous. Another delegate, this one resembling an upright bear covered in silver fur, spoke up. The architects were not wrong about you, Ambassador. We have all observed human behavior. You make friends with your predators and keep them as pets. You throw yourselves from high places for entertainment. You create art about your own destruction and call it culture. You wage war with creativity that borders on madness. The architects saw all of this potential in your primitive ancestors, and it terrified them. Seung-Woo took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. Yes, humanity can be dangerous. We are aggressive, competitive, sometimes violent. but we are also capable of great compassion, loyalty, and love. The same trait that makes us persistent hunters makes us devoted parents. The same creativity that we use in warfare, we use in art and science. You cannot remove one without destroying the other. That is a risk we are willing to take, Venthrock said flatly. The Council's decision is final. You have 30 galactic standard cycles to accept corrective engineering. If you refuse, the quarantine will be reinstated and enforced by a Council fleet. There will be no further discussion.
Oh.
Sungwoo felt the walls closing in. 30 cycles, roughly to Earth months. 2 months to convince Earth to voluntarily alter the human genome to become something other than what they were, or face isolation. Cut off from the stars, they had only just begun to explore as the session ended, and Sun Wu returned to his quarters. He found a secure message waiting from Earth intelligence. The agent who sent it was named Buara Han, someone he had worked with before. Her message was brief and encrypted at the highest level. Ambassador, I've discovered something. The Council's concern about humanity may not be entirely about safety. Several member species have been secretly accessing architect technology, trying to reverse engineer their biological engineering capabilities. They want to become the new architects, to shape and control evolution across the galaxy. Humanity's refusal to submit to their authority threatens this plan. We're not just dangerous because of what we are. We're dangerous because we won't submit. Be careful. You have allies on the Council, but also enemies who want more than just our compliance. They want us gone. Sungwoo read the message 3 times before deleting it. He walked to the window of his quarters and looked out at the spinning neutron star, its lighthouse beam sweeping across the darkness at impossible speeds. The architects had feared humanity 50 million years ago. Now the rest of the galaxy feared them for the same reasons. But there was something else here, something political and sinister hidden beneath the concern for safety. The Council didn't just want to fix humanity. Some of them wanted to control all life in the galaxy, to play God the way the architects once had. And humanity, wild and uncontrollable, stood in their way. Sungwoo activated his communicator, opening a secure channel to Earth. This is Ambassador Ru. Urgent message for Earth Command. The situation is worse than we thought. The Council has given us 2 months to submit to genetic modification or face permanent quarantine. But there's more. I'm sending you classified intelligence that suggests this is about power, not safety. We need to prepare. Not just for isolation, but for the possibility that some Council members want to finish what the architects started. He paused, looking out at the stars that humanity had fought so hard to reach. Sir, I believe they want to sterilize Earth, and they're building a fleet to do it. The message sent Sungwoo sat in the darkness of his quarters, wondering if he would ever see Earth's sun again, wondering if anyone would. Dr. Young Sunam had not slept properly in 3 weeks. His office at the Global Research Institute was buried under printed files, holographic displays, and half-empty coffee cups. The architect archives that Captain Daeho had brought back contained more information than 100 scientists could analyze in a lifetime, but Young-Soo didn't have a lifetime. Earth had 40 days left for the Council's deadline. He needed to understand what made humanity so terrifying to the architects. What had they seen in primitive humans that drove them to recommend total extinction? The answer, he was learning, was both simple and horrifying. Pull up Architect Observation Log, Earth Project Entry 4012, he said to his AI assistant. The hologram flickered, showing text that had been translated from symbolic mathematics into something humans could read. Observation Cycle 12,000, the AI read aloud. Test subjects demonstrate unprecedented persistence in pursuit behavior. Subject group tracked wounded prey animal for 8 days across hostile terrain, never stopping, never giving up. Prey animal eventually collapsed from exhaustion despite being physically faster and stronger. Conclusion: these beings do not hunt by overwhelming force. They hunt by refusing to stop. They are pursuit predators on a level never before documented. Young-Soo rubbed his tired eyes. Persistence hunting. It was something humans had always known about themselves, but he had never considered it from an outside perspective. What would it look like to a species that had never seen it before? To watch a human simply walk after an animal, hour after hour, day after day, until the animal's body gave out from sheer exhaustion. It would look like something unstoppable, like a walking nightmare that never tired and never quit. He pulled up another file. Observation cycle 19,000. Subjects encountered large predatory animal, approximate Earth equivalent. Wolf. Expected response: flee or fight. Actual response: subjects fed predator, gained its trust, and began breeding program. Within 50 generations, predator species shows reduced aggression and increased cooperation with human subjects. Conclusion: these beings do not respect the natural order of predator and prey. They turn their predators into their allies. This behavior is deeply disturbing. Young-Soo laughed, but there was no humor in it. Dogs. The architects were terrified because humans domesticated wolves, because humanity looked at something that wanted to eat them and decided to make it into a friend instead. But there was more. So much more. Environmental adaptation analysis, he read from another file. Subjects observed in desert regions, Arctic zones, tropical forests, mountain ranges, and coastal areas. All populations thriving. Genetic adaptation minimal. Cultural adaptation extreme. Subjects modify their environment and behavior to survive anywhere. They do not evolve to fit their world. They force their world to fit them. No other observed species shows this level of environmental dominance. Young-Soo stood and walked to his window, looking out at the city below. Millions of humans going about their lives unaware that their very existence was considered a galactic threat. What the architects had observed was the foundation of human nature. Humans didn't wait for evolution to make them fit their environment. They built tools, clothing, and shelters. They created fire in frozen lands and irrigation in deserts. They conquered every environment on Earth, not through biological adaptation, but through sheer stubborn creativity. Another file caught his attention. This one was marked with extra warning symbols. Psychological analysis. Cycle 25,000. Subjects show ability to form deep emotional bonds, not only with their own species, but with unrelated animals, plants, and even inanimate objects. Subjects observed mourning death of bonded prey animals. Subjects observed maintaining territory markers for deceased companions. This behavior suggests emotional processing beyond survival utility. They pack bond with anything, even things that cannot bond back. Conclusion: psychological pattern too complex to predict. Emotional responses may override logical survival behavior. Extreme caution advised. Young-Soo felt a chill run down his spine. The architects couldn't understand human emotion because it didn't make sense to them. Humans cried over dead pets and mourned for plants that withered. They named their vehicles and apologized to furniture they bumped into. They formed emotional connections with anything and everything, regardless of whether it made survival sense. To a purely logical species, that would be terrifying. How could you predict or control beings whose emotions were so powerful that they overrode basic survival instincts? The next file made Young-Soo's hands shake as he read it. Conflict analysis. Cycle 32,000. Observed subjects engaged in tribal warfare. Analysis of tactics shows disturbing pattern. Subjects use deception, ambush, false retreat, poisoned weapons, psychological warfare, and strategic cruelty. But most disturbing, subjects show ability to empathize with enemy while simultaneously planning enemy's destruction. They understand their enemy's thoughts, fears, and motivations, and use this understanding as a weapon. This recursive empathy, combined with tool-use creativity, creates warfare capability beyond any previously documented species. Previous combat observations involved direct aggression or defensive posturing. Human warfare involves planning, deception, and psychological manipulation. Recommendation: immediate project termination. Young-Soo sat down heavily. This was it. This was what had broken the architect's confidence. Humans didn't just fight. They understood their enemies, got inside their heads, and used that understanding to destroy them more effectively. It was empathy weaponized, creativity turned toward destruction. Intelligence used to cause maximum damage with minimum resources. The final file he opened was marked as the last entry before Earth's quarantine. Final assessment: Architect High Council. Project Earth has produced a species that combines traits never before seen in combination. Individual traits observed in other species are manageable. Persistence seen in some species, pack bonding seen in others. Tool use common. Environmental adaptation documented. Creative problem solving not unknown. But Earth subjects combine all traits simultaneously and apply them with unprecedented intensity. They are persistence hunters who never stop. They are pack-bonding social creatures who turn enemies into friends. They are tool users who create weapons from anything. They adapt to any environment through cultural rather than biological means. They fight with creativity that borders on madness. Most critically, they cannot be predicted. The Architect Council has debated this project for 50 cycles. Some argue for immediate sterilization. Others argue that destroying a sentient species violates our core principles. Compromise reached. Total quarantine. Seal the system behind gravitic barrier. Erase all navigation data. Let them evolve in isolation. If they destroy themselves, the problem is solved. If they survive and eventually break quarantine, we will deal with them then. But we cannot in good conscience destroy them, nor can we in good conscience allow them into the galaxy. Project Earth is hereby marked too dangerous to complete, too valuable to destroy. Status: abandoned. Shu leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The architects had looked at early humans, barely evolved from apes, and seen something that terrified them. Not because humans were strong or fast or had natural weapons, but because humans were creative, persistent, adaptable, and emotional in combinations that made them unpredictable and unstoppable. The same traits that made humans. Good parents made them terrifying enemies. The same creativity that produced art produced war tactics. The same pack bonding that created loyal friendships created soldiers who would die for each other. The same persistence that let humans run down prey let them pursue goals. Cross generations. Humans weren't dangerous because they were evil or cruel. They were dangerous because they were human, and being human meant combining traits in ways that no creator species had ever intended. Yangsu compiled his findings into a report for Earth Command. As he finished, his assistant interrupted. "Doctor, incoming transmission from the Council fleet. They're requesting your analysis." Yangsu paused. The Council wanted to know what made humans dangerous. He could give them a sanitized version, downplay the threats, make humanity seem manageable. Or he could tell them the truth. He thought about the architects running away from their own creation out of fear. He thought about the Council, preparing weapons to contain or destroy humanity. He thought about 4 billion people who had done nothing wrong except exist. "Send them everything," he said quietly. "Every file, every analysis, every observation. Let them see what the architects saw. Let them understand that we know what we are. And let them know that we're not going to change it." His assistant hesitated. "Doctor, if they understand how dangerous humans can be, they might decide we're too risky to let live." Yangsu nodded slowly. "Maybe, but they're going to find out eventually. Better they learn from us than from experience. Send it all. And add a message from me: humans are dangerous." The architects were right about that. But dangerous doesn't mean evil, and it doesn't mean we can't be trusted. It just means we're different. And the galaxy needs to decide if different is worth preserving. Admiral Hannah Choi floated in the command center of the Orbital Defense Station. Watching the Council fleet assemble at the edge of the solar system, 1,200 ships, representing 40 species, hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. The largest military force ever gathered in known history, and it was here to contain or destroy humanity. Earth's defense fleet numbered 200 ships, scraped together from every nation's space forces. Cargo haulers retrofitted with weapons, science vessels equipped with improvised armor, and a handful of actual military ships that looked like toys compared to the Council's dreadnoughts. "Tell me we have a plan," Commander Jae-Sung-oh said, floating beside her. He was young for his rank, promoted rapidly when the crisis began. but his tactical mind was sharp. "We have a plan," Hannah said. "It's a terrible plan, but it's what we have." The Council had given Earth one final chance to submit to genetic correction. Earth's government had voted unanimously to refuse. Now the Council fleet had orders to establish a permanent blockade around Sol System. No ships in or out. No communication. No trade. Earth would be a prison, humanity trapped in its own star system forever, unless humanity could make the blockade too expensive to maintain. "Activate Protocol Nightmare." Hana ordered. Jae-sung pulled up tactical displays across a dozen screens. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Engage Protocol Nightmare. Remember, we're not trying to win. We're trying to make them quit." The Council fleet began moving forward in perfect formation, an overwhelming show of force designed to intimidate humanity into last-minute surrender. They expected Earth's ships to either flee or form defensive lines. Instead, the human fleet scattered in every direction. Aboard the Council flagship, Hivemaster Venthrax watched in confusion as the human ships broke formation and fled toward the outer planets, asteroid belts, and even toward the sun itself. What are they doing? Are they retreating? His tactical officer, a crystalline lumina, pulsed with uncertain colors. "It appears so, Hivemaster, but the dispersal pattern doesn't make sense. They're not fleeing toward safe areas. They're heading into hazardous regions. Pursue them. Split the fleet into hunter groups. We'll round them up like the animals they are." That was the Council's first mistake. The human ship Dark Star had positioned itself near Jupiter's asteroid belt, hiding among the tumbling rocks. As a Council hunter group of 20 ships approached, Captain Mi Kong waited until they were deep in the debris field before activating her surprise. She had spent the past month attaching rocket motors to asteroids, turning space rocks into kinetic weapons. Now, she fired all of them simultaneously. Hundreds of asteroids, each massing thousands of tons, began accelerating toward the Council ships at calculated angles. The Council fleet saw them coming and tried to evade, but they were trapped in the debris field with nowhere to maneuver. The asteroids hit with the force of nuclear weapons. Punching through shields and armor like paper, 10 Council ships were destroyed in 30 seconds. The other 10 fled, reporting that the humans had somehow weaponized an entire asteroid field near Mars. Commander Hyeon-woo, Shin piloted a cargo hauler called Red Dragon. It was a civilian ship, designed to carry ore and supplies. But Hyeon-woo had filled its cargo bays with explosives and armor plates. When 5 Council ships moved to intercept him, he didn't try to fight or flee. He accelerated directly toward them. The Council ship scattered, assuming the human was panicking. But Hyeon-woo was calm, calculating, timing his approach. He rammed the largest Council ship at full speed, his cargo hauler exploding on impact. The Council dreadnought survived, but barely. Its entire front section crumpled in venting atmosphere. The other Council ships stopped their pursuit, suddenly unsure if any human ship might be a potential suicide weapon. Aboard the Council flagship, Venthrax received casualty reports with growing disbelief. 15 ships destroyed or disabled in the first hour. How their fleet is technologically inferior. "They're not fighting like any species we've encountered," his tactical officer reported. "They're using deception, ambushes, and weapons we didn't anticipate. They're turning debris into missiles, ramming ships with explosive cargo, attacking from positions we thought were too dangerous for survival, and destroy them. We have superior numbers and firepower." But it wasn't that simple. Every time Council ships pursued human vessels, they found themselves in carefully prepared kill zones. Humans mined the approaches to their hiding spots with improvised explosives. They used false sensor signatures to lure Council ships into asteroid collisions. They broadcast fake surrender signals and then attacked when Council ships lowered their guard to accept prisoners. 3 weeks into the siege, the Council had lost nearly 200 ships. They had destroyed only 30 human vessels. And each human ship they destroyed cost them 6 or 7 of their own. The breaking point came when a human boarding team infiltrated a Council logistics ship. Commander Borhan led the team using nothing but cutting tools and personal weapons. They didn't destroy the ship. Instead, They sabotaged its navigation, life support, and communication systems in ways that took days to discover and fix. When the Council finally regained control, they found a message spray-painted in the cargo bay. We can reach any ship. We can touch anyone. Think about that. A psychological warfare. The Council crews began looking over their shoulders, jumping at shadows, wondering if the humans were already aboard their ships. Morale dropped. Several species began questioning why they were risking their lives to contain. A species that had never actually attacked anyone, Venthrax called an emergency council session via hologram, linking all the ship commanders. We are losing this conflict not because of superior human strength, but because of their refusal to fight honorably. They use deception, suicide tactics, and psychological manipulation. This is not warfare as civilized beings understand it. Lumina Commander pulsed with frustrated red light. Then what do you suggest, Hive Master? We have lost 200 ships in 3 weeks. Our crews are exhausted and frightened. The humans show no signs of surrendering, and every engagement costs us more than we can afford. We escalate. Venthrax clicked. We stop trying to blockade them and start destroying their infrastructure. Orbital stations, satellites, supply depots. We make them understand they cannot win. But before the Council could implement this strategy, something unexpected happened. Several species within the Council fleet began refusing orders. The Lumina Concord, who had been allies of humanity, announced they would no longer participate in offensive operations. 3 other species followed their example within hours. Their representatives argued that humanity had never initiated violence against the Council, had only defended themselves when attacked, and that the siege was unjust. The Council fleet began to fracture. Ships from 12 species withdrew to neutral positions, refusing to fight. Others remained loyal to Venthrax, but their numbers were now only slightly superior to Earth's forces. Admiral. Hannah watched the Council fleet's disintegration from her command center, hardly believing what she was seeing. They're breaking. The fleet is actually breaking. Tone nodded grimly. We made it too expensive. Not just in ships, but in moral certainty. Half of them aren't sure we're actually the threat the architects claimed we were. A priority transmission came through from a captured Council soldier who was being held on one of Earth's orbital stations. His name was impossible to pronounce, but he had requested to speak directly to human commanders. The alien appeared on the screen, a reptilian being with scales that shifted colors with emotion. Admiral, I am speaking against orders from my commanders. But I must tell you something. In the 3 weeks I have been your prisoner, I have been treated better than I treat myself. Your medical staff healed injuries I sustained in capture. Your people have fed me, spoken with me, tried to understand my needs. My commanders told me humans were monsters, dangerous animals that needed to be contained. But I have seen more compassion from my captors than I've received from my own fleet. I do not know what the architects saw in your ancestors, but I know what I see now. You are not monsters. You are just different. And different should not be destroyed. The transmission ended. Hannah felt her throat tighten with emotion she couldn't afford to show. Send that transmission to every Council ship. Let them hear it. As the message spread through the Council fleet, more ships began to withdraw from combat positions. Crews that had been told they were fighting dangerous animals suddenly questioned their orders. If captured humans treated prisoners with compassion, were they really the threat the architects had described? Venthrax watched his fleet dissolve around him, his compound eyes reflecting the retreating ships. He had led the largest military force in galactic history, and humanity had defeated it not with superior weapons, but with tactics that civilized beings found disturbing and with compassion that made his crews question the entire mission. All ships, maintain defensive positions only, he finally ordered, his mandibles clicking with bitter resignation. No further offensive operations until the Council convenes to discuss terms. The space between Earth and the fractured Council fleet had become a strange no-man's land where neither side fired, but neither side retreated. Admiral Hannah maintained defensive positions while Hive Master Venthrax argued with his increasingly divided fleet commanders. The siege had lasted 2 months, cost hundreds of lives on both sides, and solved nothing. Then something happened that no one had prepared for. Every sensor in the solar system screamed simultaneously. Ships from both fleets went to maximum alert, crews scrambling to battle stations, weapons charging. A massive energy signature had appeared at the edge of the system. Something so large that it made the Council's dreadnoughts look like children's toys. On Earth, Dr. Young Sunam was pulled from a fitful sleep by urgent alerts. He stumbled to his computer and pulled up the sensor data, his tired mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The energy signature matched nothing in any database except one. Architect vessel, he whispered. Active Architect vessel. It's a ship that emerged from whatever impossible faster-than-light method it used was unlike anything humanity or the Council had ever seen. It was organic and mechanical at once, like a living creature made of crystal and light. It was so large that it had its own gravitational field, pulling small asteroids toward it like moths to a flame. A single transmission broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages simultaneously. The voice that spoke sounded like it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. I am the witness. I am Architect. I have returned to see what became of our most controversial creation. Aboard the Council flagship, Venthrax felt something he had never experienced before. Pure, primal terror. The architects were supposed to be gone, vanished 50 million years ago. Their return changed everything. Great Architect Venthrax transmitted, his voice translator struggling to keep up with his rapid clicking. We are honored by your presence. We are your children, the species you seeded across the galaxy. We have been trying to address a problem with one of your projects. The witness did not respond to Venthrax. Instead, its attention focused on Earth, on the human ships, on the planet below. Sensors swept across everything, analyzing, measuring, understanding in ways no modern technology could match. Captain Daeho Kim, still aboard the Eternal Dawn, watched the Architect ship with a mixture of awe and dread. This was the species that had seeded life across the galaxy. The beings who had looked at his ancestors and been so frightened that they had run away. Stand down, Hannah ordered. Do nothing that could be interpreted as hostile. The witness finally spoke again. 50 million Earth years ago, we abandoned this project. We called it Project 3040. We left it marked as too dangerous to complete, too valuable to destroy. We have watched from far away, through sensors and probes hidden in your system, as you evolved from the creatures that frightened us into something we could not predict. Now we see that prediction has come to pass. You have reached the stars. You have encountered the galactic community, and you have been judged by them as we judged you. Great Architect, Illumina Commander transmitted, we seek only to ensure galactic stability. The humans possess traits that make them unpredictable and dangerous. Surely you understand this, as you yourself fled from them. The witness turned its attention to the Council fleet, and somehow everyone could feel its gaze, heavy and ancient and filled with something that might have been disappointment. We fled from them because we were afraid. But do you know what we have learned in 50 million years of isolation and regret? Fear is not wisdom. Safety is not growth. Stability is not life. The Architect ship moved closer to the Council fleet. Its presence so overwhelming that some ships actually retreated despite orders to hold position. We seeded life on 3,047 worlds. We carefully designed each species to be stable, predictable, and safe. We guided their evolution, shaped their societies, and created a galaxy of civilized beings who would never threaten each other or themselves. We were so proud of our work. We created peace across countless stars. The witness paused, and in that pause everyone in both fleets felt a weight of judgment. We created stagnation. We created species that are beautiful, intelligent, and completely unable to change. Every species we guided has remained fundamentally the same for millions of years. Your technologies advance slowly. Your societies evolve at a crawl. Your art and culture follow predictable patterns. You are perfect, peaceful, and utterly static. Ambassador Sun Wuru, listening from his quarters on the Council station, felt his heart begin to race. The Architect was not defending the Council. It was criticizing them. Then we created humans. We followed our standard protocols, but something went wrong. Or rather, something went right in a way we did not expect. Humans developed traits we had never seen in combination. Persistence that borders on obsession. Pack bonding that extends beyond species boundaries. Creativity that produces both art and warfare. Adaptability that conquers any environment. Empathy that coexists with violence. Emotional depth that overrides logic. We looked at these traits and saw danger. A species that could not be predicted or controlled. A species that would never be content with what they had, that would always push boundaries, always ask questions, always challenge the universe itself. So we recommended sterilization. But some of us refused. We argued for 50 cycles about what to do with you. In the end, we compromised. We quarantined you and hoped you would either destroy yourselves or prove us wrong. The Witness moved past the Council fleet now, approaching Earth directly. Every human on the planet could see it in the sky, a star that had not been there before, growing brighter. You did neither. You survived. You thrived. You reached for the stars despite every obstacle. And when you finally broke quarantine and joined the galactic community, you immediately showed them what we feared. You are aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous. But you are also loyal, creative, and capable of change. You are the only species in this galaxy that evolves not just biologically, but culturally, philosophically, fundamentally. You are alive in ways that our carefully designed species are not. Venthrax could not stay silent. Then you admit they are dangerous. You admit they cannot be controlled. Yes, the Witness said simply. They are dangerous. They cannot be controlled. And that is exactly what this galaxy needs. The statement hung in space like a physical thing. Every being in both fleets struggled to process what the architect had just said. For 50 million years, your civilizations have stagnated, the Witness continued. You have not had a single major philosophical revolution in 10,000 years. Your art is beautiful, but repetitive. Your science is advanced, but slowly. Your societies are peaceful, but unchanging. You are dying from safety, from predictability, from the very stability we designed into you. Humans are chaos. They are danger. They are change incarnate. And change is the only thing that keeps life alive. We created you to be perfect. We created them to be real. And now we see which was the mistake. Dr. Young Sunam stood in his office, tears streaming down his face, not sure if they were from relief or vindication or simple exhaustion. The architects understood. After 50 million years, they finally understood what they had created. The Witness broadcast a new message, this time to the entire galaxy, to every species, every world. Every station and ship, we are the architects. We abandoned humanity because we were afraid of what they might become. Now we have seen what they became, and we are in awe. We offer the Council and all galactic species a choice. You may destroy humanity, contain them, try to change them into something safe and predictable. You have that power. But if you do, you will condemn yourselves to eternal stagnation. You will remain perfect, peaceful, and slowly dying. Or you can accept them as they are. Dangerous, yes. Unpredictable, absolutely. But also capable of bringing change, growth, and evolution to a galaxy that has forgotten how to dream. They will challenge you. They will disturb you. They will never fit easily into your carefully ordered society. But they will also show you what it means to be truly alive. The Witness began to fade, preparing to depart. But before it left, it sent one final message directly to Earth, to every human who could receive it. You were our greatest fear. Now you are our greatest hope. We created thousands of species to be safe. We created you by accident to be free. Do not let them take that freedom from you. Do not let them make you safe. The galaxy needs your danger, your chaos, your impossible refusal to accept limits. Be what you are, be human, and show them what that means. The architect's ship vanished, leaving behind 2 fleets, 2 civilizations, and one impossible choice. Venthrax sat in his command chair, his compound eyes reflecting the empty space where the Witness had been. Around him, his fleet was in chaos, Some species demanded they continue the siege, that they ignore the architect's words and finish what they started. Others were already withdrawing, transmitting apologies to Earth, questioning everything they thought they knew. Ambassador Sung-Woo Roo recorded a message to broadcast to the entire Council fleet. His voice was steady, his words chosen carefully.